Alright, so if I'm being completely honest, I didn't want to make this video because I was worried about the repercussions it might cause for me getting a DeLorean. Not that I had the clout or anything, but you never know. But now that I have my DeLorean, as you can see, I'm going to tell you why the DeLorean is going up in value and will soon cost more than what most people are willing to pay for one. So first, a history lesson. Between 1981 and 1983, there was approximately 9,000 DeLoreans created and shipped mostly to the United States, but some other destinations as well. And after the whole bankruptcy scandal and all that stuff, there was a decent amount of people that thought the DeLoreans were going to be worth something, and as a result, there was a decent amount of them that were put into garages, hidden inside barns, and hasn't seen the light of day, for the last 39 years. Over the life of the DeLorean, for the most part, you could have bought a DeLorean for the same price you could buy one new. Around $25,000 would get you a very good condition DeLorean. And in 2006, 2008, that started to change. And in my previous video, I mentioned I bought my first DeLorean for $17,500. It needed some work, but it looked like a really good DeLorean. You needed some upgrades, but it was a DeLorean that worked. Today, again, $17,500 doesn't get you anything. You get one with axle damage, body panels are damaged. It'll cost a lot more money to get it actually up and running. So if you look at some data provided by Haggerty, you'll see that in 2016, a very good condition DeLorean was worth about $42,400. 3 years later, January 2019, which is the data I have, the DeLorean's now worth over $60,000. It's a 49.1% increase in the DeLorean's value in a matter of 3 years. So what happened? And I mentioned this, when I first had this theory that the DeLorean's value was going to go up, and people's been saying this forever. The DeLorean's going to be worth something. It's going to be worth more. It's about it was very common. I talked to my friend about this, and he's a believer. He thinks the DeLoreans are going to go up in value exponentially in the next few years. 49.1% increase in 3 years. You can't make that in the stock market. So he's actually thinking that it might be a good idea to buy a few DeLoreans, put them in storage, start them up every month, and in 10 years or 20 years, sell them for his retirement. It's not the craziest idea. They're going up in value. And there's a couple reasons why they're going up. So let's talk about it. So obviously there's a supply and demand problem, right? Out of the 9,000 DeLoreans, there's only like 6,000 roughly that still exist. Okay? Then, every year you're seeing stories like DeLorean caught on fire and it burns, to a crisp and is gone, right? And digressing for a second, the reason why that's happening is people are not replacing their fuel lines. So if you do buy a DeLorean, please replace your fuel lines if you're running original fuel lines, because your car will likely, look like it got struck by lightning. So that's one reason. So the already limited inventory is even getting more limited by people actually driving them and not taking care of them the way they should be. So the other issue is the new DeLorean. Granted, I've been hearing this every single year for like the last 5 years that the new DeLorean is coming out. Sooner or later that's going to change. It seems like that it might actually be happening now. And what is that going to do to the value of original DeLoreans? Let's think about it. So, A, they're using up original DeLorean pieces. They're going to look exactly like a regular DeLorean. It's just going to be upgraded here and there. So, if you need a new body panel or, bumper or headlights or any piece, for your original DeLorean, it's going to be a lot harder to get that piece now, because there's already, not that many left fenders, for example. So if they're using up all the left fenders to make new DeLoreans, unless they make new fenders, that value of replacing a fender is going to become a lot more pricey. Thus, it's going to increase the value of regular DeLoreans. And then think about this. A new DeLorean is going to be 6 figures, easily. It's going to look almost exactly the same. Now, granted, you're not going to get the new DeLoreans are probably going to be worth more than the original ones for the extended period of time. But if I can buy a new DeLorean for, let's say, $150,000 versus an old DeLorean for $60,000 that looks exactly the same, and if it's restored well, runs pretty damn good, that's a huge gap in the price. So that $60,000 for an old DeLorean is going to start to demand a premium, because it's going to be harder to restore them. And if new DeLoreans that look exactly the same are going for twice the price, it stands to reason that the DeLoreans are going to just go up in value, and then an original DeLorean is just going to go up every single year. And then going back to the supply and demand problem, so there's like less than 6,000. If you actually want a manual transmission, then maybe there's 3,000. Really approximating here. If you want gray interior, manual transmission, gas flap hood, there's only 158 of those ever created. This is one of them. So there's definitely a demand problem. And, well, actually, let me illustrate it. And I apologize in advance for the crudity of this graph I'm going to show you. Ouch. So let's just pretend this is the Haggerty price model, right? So this is $62,200. And this is 2019, right? Approximately the same. And then this would be 1981, 25K. Okay. So the question is why is this happening? Right? Here's why. Assume this line is kids from the 80s and 70s. It's like, who's buying these DeLoreans? It's the kids that grew up with Back to the Future, and now they can actually afford their dream car, because if you do the math here, kids from the 70s is right around here, would be 30 to 50 years old. So when you're in your 40s is when you reach peak earning years, thus when you can actually afford to buy a DeLorean. So kids from the 80s, millennials, are basically 39 years old right now. So they are just entering their peak earning years. So those kids are probably going to want it even more so. They're reaching their peak earning years where they can actually afford to have a DeLorean. The demand is already going up. The supply is going down. So this number is going to, easily be $100,000 within the next decade. So, I guess. So where does that leave us? If you want a DeLorean, you better get one now, because otherwise you're gonna have to spend probably double what they're going for today, or triple if you're waiting 10 years. If you're willing to spend over $100,000 to $200,000 for one, which is sooner or later, that's what they're gonna go for. And if my calculations are correct, that's gonna happen a little bit sooner rather than later. Thanks for listening. Please like, subscribe. If you know someone that wants a DeLorean, if you could share this video with them, you might be doing them a favor. Have a good one. Bye.